The Federal Reserve Act of 1913 was enacted on December 23, 1913. This is when Congress codified and set up the Federal Reserve System, the central banking system of the United States of America, and granted it the legal authority to issue Federal Reserve notes and Federal Reserve bank notes as legal tender. The act was signed into law by President Woodrow Wilson. Wilson's presidential campaign was backed by corporate bankers because he promised to sign the Federal Reserve Act if he won the presidency.
The day the Federal Reserve Act was passed, the Constitution ceased to be the governing covenant of the American people, and our liberties were handed over to a small group of international bankers, stated by Eustace Mullins.
The thing that seems funny about the signing of the Federal Reserve Act of 1913 is that on the night of December 23, 1913, the majority of Congress was home for the holidays. The congressmen that just happened to stay in Washington, D.C., passed the act and signed it into law before the rest of Congress could get back to the Capitol and repeal the act.
After Woodrow Wilson realized what he did, he went on to state, "I am a most unhappy man. I have unwittingly ruined my country. A great industrial nation is controlled by a system of credit. Our system of credit is concentrated. The growth of the nation, therefore, and all our activities are in the hands of a few men. We have come to be one of the worst ruled, one of the most completely controlled and dominated governments in the civilized world. No longer a government by free opinion, no longer a government by conviction and the vote of the majority, but a government by the opinion and duress of a small group of dominant men."
Even though President Wilson made this remorseful statement, some people think that he was not remorseful and was proud about what he accomplished. Others say he was a good man, but was weak and easily manipulated.
Money is basically anything that we can trade, which has the same perceived value from person to person. As long as society accepts the value of something, money could be literally anything.
Our current Federal Reserve note is a worthless fiat paper currency based on debt. The reason it is worthless is because it is not backed by silver, gold, or any other types of precious metals or stones. Our Constitution states that no state shall make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts. How do we know that it is not backed by anything? We know this because it says it on its website. It says,
"Federal Reserve notes are not redeemable in gold, silver, or any other commodity. Federal Reserve notes have not been redeemable in gold since January 30th, 1934, when the Congress amended Section 16 of the Federal Reserve Act to read, the said Federal Reserve notes shall be obligations of the United States. They shall be redeemed in lawful money on demand at the Treasury Department of the United States, in the City of Washington, District of Columbia, or at any Federal Reserve Bank. Federal Reserve notes have not been redeemable in silver since the 1960s.
The Federal Reserve note is basically an IOU, or a credit. Printing more of this fiat paper money causes prices to raise, which means that the dollar is devalued or worthless, and that my fellow Americans is in inflation. The Federal Reserve controls inflation rates by either printing more notes or by ceasing from printing notes. Stop printing notes has the opposite effect. Prices go down and the value of the dollar raises.